All right. Happy Friday, folks. We are live.
Friday indeed.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Marie.
You made it.
Yeah, so if you are watching on a live stream, chances are there is a link to a meetup group somewhere visible around you. If you'd like to get into the conversation here, feel free to join that from the from the meetup.com link. And we'll be happy to chat with you and have you in the stream. Be aware that if you do jump in, that we are recording just by nature of live streaming, so that's sort of for everybody who's currently in here and everything else going on. But actually, a few good things to talk about tonight. It's more than just Microsoft Ignite Week that wrapped up this week, but of course we've also got stuff to talk about with CodeCamp, and I ran across an interesting video today called The Social Dilemma, and one of my relatively interested friends thought that was like, end of the world type stuff, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Anybody else got any particular topics they want to just do a quick intro for, and we'll get back to it?
Not me, thank you.
What's up? Yeah, not really. I've been digging more into the Power Platform, especially after the Ignite announcements. Really warming up to it. First, I was, not very impressed, and I don't know. The more I learn about it, the more impressed I get, and I think it's why I was not impressed is just that we were completely doing it wrong. So that's all I have to say.
Gotcha. So, well, that's cool, and I think some of that we can talk about a little bit with the CodeCamp stuff too. One of the things that I wanted to bring up for tonight, in general, was let me see if I can find the web page for it. The Ignite book of news here, and so we can actually sort of take a quick look at that. I'll share it with you too, since I'm about to bring it up on the live feed here too. I'll share it with everybody. So in times gone by, for like build and stuff like that, I've kind of taken the book of news and done a little bit of a sort of discussion, sort of presentation about the book of news itself. I know this might be a little bit tough to read on the stream, so I'll try to zoom it out so that people can read it. Hopefully that's legible.
I can see it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking like on the stream itself isn't quite as high resolution as the Teams feed, so you guys get a better view of what streams to Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that. But yeah, basically there's a whole book of news for people who are interested in catching what's gone on. If you missed the event, it was a 48-hour long streaming event that started actually Tuesday morning and ended Thursday morning. Broadcast from all over the world. Actually, they really did some interesting things as far as scheduling, and very nicely, actually did some of their broadcasts in different languages, and especially at different times of the day where it would make more sense to You know, for example, I think they did a number of sessions in Hindi and a number of sessions in Spanish and you know, stuff like that at times of the day when it made sense. So you can see from this book of news site that you know, they basically divided things up into different categories. You know, Azure being one of the bigger ones. They had all kinds of news involved in you know, their data platform, Azure AI. I like to kind of take a look at some of the areas that, you know, that I'm into. You know, like the Azure cognitive stuff and you know, bot framework. There's all kinds of stuff. I've got some pet projects in the bot framework area that we've talked about on other code review nights that I'd really like to update with some of the features that they've added. Maybe even go so far as to rebuild them and sort of re-merge the customizations that I've made into it. But I'll play with that at some point. Anybody else have any particular favorites? Bob, you were saying about the Power Platform stuff.
Yeah, I took a look at some of the Power Platform presentations, and that led me to dig into more things, and really actually loving it. I did some of the AI model training today that's built into the Power Platform, and it's pretty cool, actually. Very useful.
Awesome. So what was, you know, I'm brain fading. I know that they've got some great stuff in the Power Platform about RPA and stuff like that. What was the code name for the project that you were talking about?
So that's Project Oakdale. So it's kind of like the common data service is what underlies like Microsoft Dynamics and Power Platform. It's like your database.
Yeah.
But it's more than just a database. But Project Oakdale is kind of like a light version of that, which is just included with, you know, the license you're using to access Teams. So you don't have to pay an extra premium connector to access it like you would with the common data service.
Yep.
And it's really great. You can just, you know, build your database in a nice UI and use that instead of having to set up a SQL server or a, you know, God forbid, a SharePoint list or whatever.
Gotcha. So I think what you're referring to, what you're talking about here, I think is this right here, the updates to the Power BI. So let me close this for a second. For Teams. And you know, so you can read all about these announcements in this book of news and really get you know, some of the it's not necessarily the detail. It's a little bit more maybe it's a little more detailed than an executive announcement, but at the same time it gives you links to all the details and stuff like that. So if you click like the learn more here, I can bring that up in another tab over here and, you know, find out, you know, what they were talking about with Power. Oh, this is about Power BI pipeline deployment. So being able to deploy Power BI to Teams from a GitHub CI/CD pipeline.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this is exactly the same thing that we were talking about, but probably related as far as that goes. Oh yeah, that's this. I've jumped down to this one, the low code updates for professional developers in the public preview for GitHub. So let's see what else. The other fun stuff. There were some good announcements about Project Cortex, including you know, SharePoint syntax for people who are into the SharePoint world, the Microsoft 365 things and all that. Definitely recommend that you check that out. whole bunch of updates to Teams, which may or may not impact Code Camp as we get a little bit closer. Some of the releases that they were talking about will actually be pushed out by then. Few of them just got pushed out recently, like Teams meetings now occur in a separate window from the main team application, so you can participate in a meeting and still have access to your Teams window for document sharing and content chats and that sort of thing. So lots of new meeting room support, different views and stuff like that, including the together mode and all that fun stuff. So let's see what else. Talk about, yeah, the big new device, of course, was the 85-inch Hub 2S, and the interesting thing about that is that they're not just making you keep the custom version of the firmware on the hub. They actually allow you to repave it with Windows 10 Pro or Enterprise as well. They're also talking quite a bit about there's a lot of hullabaloo about Microsoft Edge coming to Linux. So this is the Chromium-based version of Edge that you can now download and run in Linux. So if you ever wondered if they might do something along those lines, well, here you go. You can actually run the current Microsoft Edge browser in Linux, which is a very cool relative different thing. It's not exactly something that anybody anticipated, but there'll definitely be features that you can take advantage of. The big feature that I appreciate in Microsoft Edge is the ability to have different user profiles, and I've talked about that before in other code reviews, but the advantage of that is if you work with Office 365 with different identities, that really sorts it out for you, makes it so that you have a separate browser for each identity rather than having to play games with, the solution that I used to use prior to that was I would use like Chrome for one identity and Edge for another identity and maybe Firefox if I had a third, and now I can use Edge for all of them, which is Chromium based. So the other nice thing about Microsoft Edge at that level is that it's actually more compatible with more websites than Chrome is. And everybody's like, well, how do you figure that? So Edge Chromium actually supports everything that Chrome does, and it also supports everything that classic Internet Explorer supported. So it actually has an addition of the classic rendering engine in it, so you have full compatibility with the Internet Explorer compatible sites for enterprises and that sort of thing. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until I caught wind of that in one of the sessions at Ignite. So
we had a help desk ticket come in today, and it was, a problem with an infinite loop on a JavaScript confirm box. And one of the other developers piped in and said, "Oh, the workaround to that is to use Internet Explorer." So it exploits a bug in Internet Explorer that mitigates the bug in our code.
Interesting. So you might find that there's a mode that you can put it in, or maybe some meta content in the, if you put a meta tag in the site itself to tell it to force it to IE compatibility mode, that might actually solve that problem for you. So.
Yeah.
So that's worth investigating as far as that goes. So.
Are
I've
there
been
still
using.
people?
Go ahead.
Are there still people using Internet Explorer?
Yeah. Unfortunately, for a lot of big corporations and stuff like that, Internet Explorer is still very much kind of a thing. They have legacy applications that they can't necessarily get rid of right away.
Yeah, a lot of the hospital applications are not updated.
Yep. So, it's kind of an interesting thing that Microsoft has kind of, in a lot of ways. I mean, it's a little bit on the rough side when you stop and think about it, because if you had a legacy application built for like .NET Framework, for example, Microsoft is really trying to encourage you to modernize to .NET Core. And if you built an application for, say, for example, ASP.NET, they're really trying to encourage you to upgrade to ASP.NET Core. and and in both cases, the front end for those are considered legacy front ends. They're still supported. They're still accessible. They're not really going anywhere. They're not going away. It's just you wouldn't want to build anything new on them right now, and that's sort of an odd spot as far as that goes. So,
No,
let
I
me
know
see.
that the Social Security Administration made a massive switch to Windows 10 and Edge. I think when I was in the Guard did too.
Gotcha. Is there
Yeah.
anybody waiting in the lobby here? I think I see.
I think Joe just came in.
Yes, he did.
Oh, hey, Joe.
Joe's here.
How's it going, man?
Good. I uploaded a new background to the app data folder, but for
Hey,
some
cool.
reason, Teams is now reversing the background images. Can you see the background image that I put up?
Yeah, it's a code cap.
Is it
Yes.
backwards to you guys?
It's not backwards, no.
Okay, I'm going to send you a screenshot.
No, I
So-
know what you mean. I've experienced that too, but
Yeah,
when we see it, it's fine.
yeah. There are certain things like when you look at it on the camera, for example, it'll sometimes come up backwards, but So where did you put that? Is that in the org team or?
Oh, no, so that was just, that's on my PC.
Oh.
I can upload it to the org team.
Oh,
Hey, before
do you want to
before
share
you
it?
upload it, Joe, how would you feel about making one more row of blue and cut down the yellow by one, since blue is one of the code camp's primary colors?
I think she's talking about the rainbow logo.
I do. I feel great about that, but I don't think I could do that right now.
No, not tonight. I don't expect miracles, Joe.
I do have the hair to be a miracle worker, but not
That's
I bet
awesome.
somebody does, because I certainly don't.
Oh,
well, it is starting to go away on top. And I read an article that since everybody's inside, there is a lot more hair loss going on with COVID-induced stress. So I hope everybody out there is taking a chill pill and maybe going out to exercise or playing a musical instrument or doing something to keep their mind exercised and stress-free.
So you mean I can claim my hair loss even though it's from old age as COVID?
Well, okay, so probably do a mix, I would say, like I am.
well, let's just say
Half COVID.
let's just say it's not the COVID thing is not helping.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
COVID is not putting hair on our heads, that's for sure.
Yeah. I gotta say,
Buttercup,
I
on the
desperately
other
need
hand-
to get rid of some. I keep on saying I need a haircut, but you know.
Yeah, Buttercup is here with a little bit too much hair. She would like to shed some of this fur, but yeah, I want to put some back on top. Jim, I'll trade.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that it kind of fades out in the back over here, but you know.
Well, that's why I wear a hat for Code and Coda.
So,
So,
yeah.
so they say you should get 20 minutes of sunlight every day anyway. So,
I
I walk my dog every day.
was gonna say I failed that today myself. I really wanted to go for a walk at lunchtime, but then realized that I had meetings that if I took off I'd miss out on, and I'm like, I can't do that. Much as I wanted to.
yeah.
I had lots of sunshine today. Doing outside enumerating.
Ah,
Yes.
so that go better today?
Yes, it did. I don't know. I don't have any trouble with people say, you know, the inner part of April. I never had any trouble. Usually pretty polite.
Excuse
Well,
me.
it's-
Excuse
Go
me.
I was going to say it's the old thing of, I find that if you treat people with respect, they treat you with respect for the most part.
Yeah, once in a while you run into a real.
Not Haverhill.
Okay, I don't hang out in Haverhill, so I'm not.
I've lived here for 20 years, and yeah, I was up on the avenues today, and it wasn't too bad. Didn't have any trouble.
So, Joe, I don't know if you caught that we were just kind of geeking out about Ignite.
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, there were a few good announcements and stuff like that. I was just wondering if you had caught anything that you wanted to geek out about. In terms of,
No, I have a couple other things I wanted to talk about, or at least one other thing. But no, what's going on with Ignite? Because I totally dropped the ball on that. But of course, with every other virtual event, I feel like I can just go back. And you know, I want there to be a reason for me to have to be there at that time.
yeah. I think
We
that's
should strive for that for Code Camp.
yeah. I really do want to do that, and I think that we've got a few good cases for really being there. One of them may be, I don't know exactly what we're going to do as far as making content accessible after the fact. You know, because we're going to have people have access to Teams, and the presenters will have the opportunity to record the session. I think we're probably going to have to make it be on the presenter to remember to record. We'll have to kind of iron the details out as far as that goes when we get a little bit closer to the event. But the trick to it as far as that goes is that it records and it stays sort of in Teams. And so I suppose that I could try to figure out, I'd probably spend some time pushing it out to like YouTube or something like that.
Stream, whatever Microsoft, what is that, Stream? That never works.
Yeah, they have a service, but it's not generally public. It's meant for internal enterprise use. And
But
so
you can create links to share with those videos, can't you?
yeah, but they're usually like identity protected, so you know they're not publicly accessible. You know, so you can
So
create
it's not anybody with a link can access type of sharing.
only if you put it out in like OneDrive or something like that. So you'd actually have to push it out to OneDrive, or I think they might have a video streaming service, a public video streaming service, but you know, we'll see as far as that goes. Like I say, I
Have
could.
you ever heard of a live only broadcast or event? Does that happen? Has that happened lately with any events that you know of, or?
None that I'm aware of, because I know that everything that came out of Ignite was recorded and streamed. In fact, some of it in the same 48-hour event, they recorded and rebroadcast several of the sessions from earlier in the show
Yeah, I
for
remember
later
that.
at night. And of course that's the hard part about the whole thing. You know, my biggest problem with even going remote the way we have is just the classic case of, okay, I've got this recorded. I don't really have to be there for it, and so I'll watch it later. But then it feels a little bit like it sits on the bookshelf like so many DVDs, you know.
Yep.
Everybody's got
What
their.
if we created like a supercut of all the recordings? You know, like a 60-minute supercut of the whole day, where you take like the best content
Oof.
from each presentation, and you know,
Because that would just be my presentation. So.
what did you say?
Well, that book that
Your
you were
presentation? Is that
showing.
what you said?
Yes.
Yeah,
I am accepting that challenge.
Oh, boy.
They're gonna. This is gonna be like a geek off here. Yeah.
Rob, I didn't know they announced the speakers yet. Are you a speaker?
I'm very hopeful.
So
Let's put it that way.
so the way we usually end up doing it is that anybody who submits typically will get their top rated session. So we'll do a rating, and if you submitted like 2 or 3 topics, we'll rate all of the topics from everybody together, and then go through and find the top rated topic for each speaker and include that in the schedule.
Okay, so I didn't even know, and this is probably gonna look poorly on me. I didn't even know people submitted multiple abstracts for these events. I've only ever submitted one, but I've only submitted like 2 or 3 times, mostly SharePoint Saturday, but okay, I hear you.
Yeah. It's good to submit more than one because, you know, if it's already submitted a similar topic, then you have something else to put in, or you know, based on interest or whatever. You know, it just adds variety to the committee that's choosing the sessions.
Yep. Yeah, we get people. Actually, the average right now, we've got about 30 speakers signed up so far. And I'm actually going to share this real quick here.
Yeah, I got an email actually from the event because I haven't submitted yet. But I did get a notification from the event, I think because I was a previous speaker, that asked me to please make a submission. So
very cool.
That's at the top of my list.
So you, yeah, I actually, I think I did that manually the other day. I didn't realize I built the list and did a query to figure out who was in it and who wasn't, and didn't realize that your name was in there. But yeah, that'd be great. So this is the stats right here, and let me zoom this a little bit so that people at home can see it. But
yeah, so that's an average of 2 per speaker.
Yeah. So we've got 30 unique speakers and 60 sessions. These are all in process, and I'll flash by the list of speakers here so folks seeing the recording can get a little idea of who's submitted so far. Note that the event itself is 49 days away, so we're well under 60 days. So we're definitely in the the last month and change here. But we've got some great speakers signed up here. Still definitely trying to make sure that we get a good demographic cross section, which I still worry a little bit about.
Looks like a lot of white guys to me.
Yeah, I hate to say it. Most of the speakers match my demographic, and we're trying to make things a little bit more diverse than that. Though there are a few ladies in here that's good to see. Looks like we've got Deepthi Goguri and Jess Osro and Adrian Adrian Tack. And I don't think I see any other ladies in here in particular, but there's a few others that we're hoping to see. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. And
Jim, can you show us how to decline somebody? You can use Rob as an example.
we generally reserve that until later on, but
Okay.
So actually though, Rob's working on Capture the Flag, and we were talking a little bit before the meeting tonight about setting you up so you can do the Power BI, or excuse me, Power Platform work in the Capture the Flag team or channel, I should say. I suspect that I'm going to have to give you a native identity in order to do that. Does that sound legitimate?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to that test you wanted to do with, like the pre-tickets.
Yeah.
To see how an actual attendee would be able to access this. So I definitely want to see how that works out.
Very cool. Very cool. The only concern that I would have with, I don't know. We might have to talk about what being a beta attendee does as far as, your score. Who knows? Maybe we should just let them have those extra points just for the fact that they came in and spent some time beta testing, in advance. But
yeah, I was planning on just wiping out the scores, but yeah, that's valid too.
I mean, it's something to consider. I'm not stuck to that idea, and maybe we'll get some feedback from people, later on or something like that. But
they don't even need to solve any of the puzzles. I just want to make sure that they can get into them, and they can submit the flags.
Yeah.
If that works, then we're good.
Gotcha. So yeah, that's definitely something we'll do. Joe, you said you had something that you wanted to bring up before we go too much further. I wanted to give you a chance to.
So I was actually just typing into the chat window so I wouldn't forget. You published some EPS files to the team, and unfortunately, I don't have a program that can open that type of file. And if we think back to our conversation from 2 nights ago about why it's nice to own a Mac laptop, it's probably the one reason, isn't it?
So
have you tried Inkscape?
Say what?
Inkscape. Have you tried Inkscape?
I have not. Is it free?
It's totally free. It's recently in version 1.0. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, Inkscape's a good one. Also, the program called GIMP, GNU Image Manipulation Program, GIMP. And I think that that'll open EPS files too on a PC. So I'm not positive about that, but I could have sworn that I had used that to pull an EPS in and then export a JPEG from it.
It might open it, but it's a raster program, kind of like Paint Shop, so you might not be able to save it back to an EPS or a vector type.
Yeah.
No, I don't need to save back. Well, actually, you know what? It would be good if I could, honestly.
You can definitely export to like JPEG and PNG and stuff like that. So, Inkscape definitely does SVG. I've used it for that, so I'm not positive.
Great. That's good.
So, and it's cool to know that it's in 1.0 now. I think I was still using it in beta, but
is this MIT or what kind of license?
I don't remember. Probably.
I don't know actually, but I mean it's totally free. Like if you were gonna fork the project and redistribute it, you might have to look into it. But if you're just gonna use it, I don't think you need to be concerned.
Inks.
I wasn't gonna fork it. I was actually just gonna resell it as is.
Oh. Then you want to look at the license.
Inkscape is a free and open source vector graphics editor. It can be used to create, edit vector graphics such as illustrations, blah, blah, blah. Scalable vector graphics, SVG more.
Yeah.
And a number of
What
other
extension is dot blah blah blah?
Yeah, I'm downloading it now.
Right. So very cool.
I dumped the link in the chat for GIMP.
Oh, thank you.
Some of the teachers at school use it. Jim, I don't know if you can maybe pull it up and show it to the audience, or
sure,
so they get it.
I have it on my screen. It's in the store, Microsoft Store.
GIMP or Inkscape?
Inkscape.
Actually, they might both be now that you mention it.
Yeah, GIMP is in the store too.
Oh, my computer's.
Okay.
Yeah, GIMP's been around for a while.
Yes.
I had GIMP on my computer. I don't know. Maybe it was my other computer.
I like this. It says to me, we think your OS is Microsoft Windows.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah, those headers could be anything the client wants them to be. So.
Yeah.
So I had one other thing that I wanted to get to in terms of discussion. Yeah, basically I wanted to talk about that. It was called the Social Dilemma, which is a video produced and broadcast on Netflix. So I don't want to jump in on that just yet. Before I get into that, I wanted to make sure that we had time to do our regular, like rounds. So if anybody, had anything that they wanted to show off in terms of like, something they're learning, whatever it was they did today. Anybody get something?
No, not Marie.
If I was a dog, I'd be a rat terrier. Here's that type of day.
So for the folks at home, I am showing the website for GIMP. Actually, this is the downloads page. Let me show the home page. But GIMP is a great little tool. I've used it in the past for a bunch of stuff. Another one is the Inkscape, which let me do a quick search for that real quick here. Like I said, I'm just showing this on the live stream here. So that's at inkscape.org. I'll zoom in a little bit so people can actually read it. So my computer's getting a little bit bogged down with all the video streams going through it. So Inkscape is a really cool tool. I've used that for taking SVG and pulling them into XAML projects in the past. Actually converting SVG into XAML, which is kind of a neat trick.
Yep.
And very handy. Makes for really sharp looking desktop applications. So both very handy tools for graphic editing and stuff like that when you're building applications. But and thank you, Murray, for sharing the link there.
Well, I figured that Karen had already grabbed Inkscape, so I grabbed the other one and.
Very cool.
Yeah, all you have to do is go for Inkscape. Just go to the store and type in ink, and it pops right up.
Very cool. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was a friend of mine on Facebook, and I won't get into details about who, but kind of pointed out that there's this nasty issue with social media about big part of the reason. Oh, okay, it's even playing the music here. I don't know.
When you go to Google and type in climate change is, you're going to see different results depending on where you live and the particular things that Google knows about your interests.
Okay.
That's not by accident.
It's actually kind of too bad that it's playing that.
Know is that
I'll
everything
stop
doing
it for
online
now,
is
but
being watched, is being tracked. Every single action you take
because I
is
want to talk about it, not
monitored and recorded. A lot of people think Google's just a search box, and Facebook's just a.
Go away. I couldn't get it to go away. It's like it just kept on playing. But so anyway, the realization is that a big part of the polarization that we have across society nowadays is because of the artificial intelligence algorithms that companies, especially social media, use to drive engagement, and that basically the video portrays it as a conspiracy specifically by Google and Facebook especially, that more or less is all about getting us totally addicted to our social media streams and stuff like that, because they've got artificial intelligence that tells them not only all about who you are, but because of your interactions, they understand what is interesting to you. And so what they're always and forever trying to do is drive up the engagement metric, the metric that says you're actually paying attention to this stuff. And of course, the stuff that you pay attention to is the stuff that you're, generally speaking, a little bit afraid of. So on some level, what it does is it drives outrage. And the reason why, of course, is that they want you to be involved and engaged and stuff like that is because, it's not actually because you're their customer. It's because you, the user of a social media product, are their product. Without you, they have nothing to sell to their customers, and their customers are big business who are also trying to get your attention. And so, basically it's this catch-22 that they're operating in of trying to keep you fired up enough to be engaged, without having it totally blow up and turn into, a civil war or something like that, which, it's felt a little bit like we were on the edge of for a while now. So it's kind of funny because I have mixed feelings. I decided to sit down and watch that video, and as somebody who uses artificial intelligence in my job and understanding how it works in the capacity of taking experiences and making statistical predictions based on that experience to figure out what's going to pique a person's interest or get them involved in a topic. This particular video was very dramatic about it. The irony about it is that they were actually using the very same tactic that they were pointing fingers at Facebook for. They were basically trying to drive outrage to steal your social media attention for their streaming media content. So yeah, so go figure. They're basically my feeling about it. I found myself wondering, it's like, all right, have we really hopefully actually gotten to the point where the Matrix might fall because the only thing outrageous enough to drive attention, to drive engagement, is exposing the Matrix? So maybe we'll get the Matrix to fall that way. I don't know. So it's actually a little bit of a rough story, because I know it makes a lot of people nervous to think that pretty much everything they do in social media is being recorded and used to drive engagement. But even more so than that, they've found that they can actually do things like encourage voter turnout at elections. Well, I mean, that's really cool, but the downside of that is if they can influence, turnout, they might be able to influence the results. And then let's set voting aside. If they can influence you to go out and actually cast a ballot, can they influence you to go out and spend some money? And that, of course, is what their actual customers, their paying customers, actually are trying to get out of the Facebook data. And so when it comes down to it, it's feeding this sort of vicious cycle of trying to keep users engaged, or keep the users engaged, even though this is free and they don't necessarily have any other real investment in it, and balancing that with the fact that they're trying to sell you your content, your data, your behaviors, your attributes, and stuff like that to marketers who are then turning around and trying to gain your attention and engagement in other methods. So in a way, it's not just Facebook trying to get your attention, it's actually all of Facebook's actual customers also trying to get your attention on Facebook. So and I found myself realizing that it's really sort of unfair to point fingers just at social media the way this particular video does. It's really an issue that points heavily to other companies beyond social media, because they're all trying to, basically manipulate people into buying things. I think of like Amazon in particular. They're so good at it that they actually do get their customers, their users, to become customers and pay to have their data taken. So, which really amazes me, the whole idea of and I can't say I'm not guilty of it. I think we're Amazon Prime customers. So being an Amazon Prime customer means that we pay $100 to have Amazon, monitor everything that we do and figure out what to sell us. And then they also have their partner channel, which they invite thousands upon thousands of vendors to sell through Amazon's channels. but those quote unquote partners are actually competitors. And so it's like, all right, but this whole thing is also the reason why I don't own an Android device. So, so I kind of wanted to bring it up because it was a real, sort of controversial topic. There was a pretty decent discussion thread about it, where people were getting ready to go and start firing the initial shots in a civil war of some sort, and I'm like, yeah, no, slow down. I mean, it's not just social media. It's pretty much any company that the brand of trying to get your attention. So I wanted to bring it up and ask, did anybody else happen to catch it at all, or?
I'm sorry. What was the? It was a video. Or?
Yeah, it's a video on Netflix. Ironically, it does some of the things that it points fingers at social media for doing, but the underlying message is actually valid. It's called The Social Dilemma. And
I've seen it in the search screen, but I don't think I'd watch it. I avoid social media. Like, I use Twitter a little bit. I follow some tech people, and I read the tech tweets. If it's political, I just ignore it. I don't have a Facebook account. I just hate that stuff.
Yeah. No, I understand. I kind of, I play the social media thing myself just because it's if you understand what they're doing and aren't afraid of at least trying to take advantage of it, it can be a tool. And there's a give and a take to it, of course. I mean, that's how I reach out to a lot of people to let them know about meetups and Code Camp and any other event that's going on and stuff like that. It's it's all through Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn especially. I don't use Google services as much. I used to really like Google until I realized that everything that they produced was basically free, and that meant that they were selling something else. They made their money a different way. And of course, when it hit me that the way that they actually make their money is by selling everybody's usage behaviors, I realized that, hey, wait a minute, if their users are not their customers are buying their users. So, that's basically the way all free social media works. And as much as I thought the message in this was, let's kill social media by running away from it, my feeling as far as that goes is, use it with the knowledge that that's what they're doing, and that if you share outrage, if you share dissent, then you're playing into a negative thing, and if you run away from it, then you lose it all together. But so my feeling as far as that goes is that running away from it isn't necessarily the answer, because that kind of flushes the baby down the drain with the bathwater, so to speak, but rather than doing that, go for trying to avoid the outrage type stuff, the rumor mills and the mongering and stuff like that, and hopefully that will be better. But making people aware of it hopefully would help too. So that's my little soapbox thing, I guess. Hope you don't mind.
Nope.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
That's how I've always felt about social media. It's the good side is it got me in touch with a lot of people I haven't seen. It keeps me in touch with a lot of people I haven't been able to in my life, in my career. I've been all over, and so I get to keep in touch with a lot of people I don't get to see every day. The flip side is it's like you just don't say anything on social media you wouldn't want to put it in on New York Times.
Yep.
Or on ABC News or NBC News.
Yeah.
Or even your local news station.
Yeah.
Karen, I like that description.
Very cool.
That's how I monitor my social media usage. And yeah, stay away from the political stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because that's the other thing too. It's definitely not just social media that's trying to track behaviors and drive engagement. It's also very much the politicians, and some of the politicians are downright masters at it. And to the point where it's actually scary. But that's another story. I won't go any further than saying that much, but because that's brushing up against the edge of what we were just saying don't do. But like I say, it's best to go in with your eyes wide open as far as that goes, and don't necessarily be afraid of it because it can be helpful, but yeah, don't let it drive you. Yeah. So so that was basically what I was thinking about there. So maybe that'll help somebody.
Google, I don't know if Google or Edge is the worst, but it's true. Because I was looking for a car, and all of a sudden I was getting car ads on my Facebook page.
Yeah, it's hard to say as far as that goes. I mean, that's one reason why I don't want to own an Android device, is because the Android operating system is free, and because it's free, that means that the people actually paying for it are, the people buying behavioral patterns and stuff like that.
Isn't Edge do the same thing?
So Edge does some of that, and it's really Bing that collects the information. But in that particular case, it's really I suspect that there's a coalition of social media on some level that shares some of that information. That the other side of that is that they don't even need to do all that much. They use artificial intelligence to pick up clues about the things that you're interested in. And they know from experience that, oh well, Karen looked at looked at something to do with cars and spoke to this person in a chat about vehicles, so let's start bringing up ads for those. And
I didn't look for a car in Facebook. I looked for a car online with, I don't know if Google or Edge or both of them.
Yeah. So
I didn't use Facebook.
So they'll start predicting, and yeah, they do share some content and information, but they do also share behavioral patterns to the point where you've heard that story about the classic story of artificial intelligence being used to look at a person's behaviors by what they're buying in a store, and figuring out that, for example, oh well, this person bought these vitamins and that that particular product and a few other things. There's a high probability that person is pregnant. And so it will actually start marketing things like cribs and diapers and stuff like that. And I remember a classic story about a young woman who was still living at home, and her folks figured out that she was pregnant because Target started sending her ads for maternity things. And you know, that was a big deal a few years ago, and think about how much better they're at it than they were then. So
Yeah, have you ever started getting ads for things you've just talked about and never even searched for online? You know, your phone or your Alexa or your whatever is listening, and you start getting ads for things. I mean,
yep.
That's over the top.
Yeah. Well, it's getting to the point where I fully expect that you won't even have to verbalize an interest in something. That you'll be browsing the internet and you'll hit a few things, and they'll start realizing by prediction that that means that you're interested in this other product that may seem completely unrelated, and you didn't realize that you were going there, but they did. And they'll be right there with an ad for you as soon as you think of it. And it is getting that good. You know, predictive modeling is ridiculous at this point. Like I say, it's not necessarily a bad thing. There may be times where that comes in relatively handy, as long as you're not letting them, you know, pull you into that behavior. You know, I guess what I'm saying is, as long as they're not manipulating you into buying something that you weren't really going to buy before, you know, if you really were interested in it, that becomes a handy feature. But you know, if not, then it becomes manipulation. It's like a really, really thin line there.
That's not new, though. I mean, that's what coupons have been doing for decades, right? I mean, you get a coupon, like, you probably weren't going to buy that thing, but, oh, look, I get $1 off. I'm going to buy it now.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely true. There is a form of manipulation there, and it's also a predictive modeling that's been going on for decades, and you know, finding the right coupon for the right audience, and now it's just happening in real time instead of, you know, over the course of the week or two that it takes to get the mail through. So
yeah.
So we're about a little bit past time here. Any last thoughts for the weekend, or so just a reminder, on Thursday this coming week, it's October 1st. October 1st is a couple of things going on. First, Thursday is the 1st or the 2nd? No, it's the 1st. So I got my calendar right up there, thankfully. So, so October 1st is not only Chris Bortlick coming to talk to the Microsoft 365 users group in New Hampshire. If you go to meetup.com and search for Granite State Microsoft 365, you'll find it. Chris Bortlick is coming to give us an introduction to Project Cortex in the post-Ignite style. So, you know, he's already done some content for Ignite, and now he's able to talk a little bit more freely about what they're doing. He'll probably get into the syntax stuff that they talked about at Ignite and all that. The other thing that's happening Thursday the 1st is the tickets, general admission tickets for Granite State Code Camp is opening. So can you believe, here we are on the 25th, less than a week away, tickets start becoming available for people to start grabbing. So that's a little bit of a milestone and kind of a scary thing when I think about it, because we've got a lot of stuff to sort out. But good stuff as far as that goes. A little bit later in the month, we've got Alexander Chofi coming to talk about WinUI for the .NET users group, but we get another couple of Fridays in between here and there. So,
what time is this Portland?
6 p.m. on Thursday. So, all right. So, if we have
Teams?
Yep. Yeah, it'll be the best way to grab the link for it. You'll be able to get into it through Teams directly, but you can find the link in meetup.com, and if you have a question, just send a message in Teams. We'll get it. So.
Hey Jim.
Yeah.
And everybody, thank you for coming. It's been a good night, I think.
Yeah, right. Very cool. Thank you.
Care, Marie.
Thank you all for coming. Anybody got any last bits before we say goodnight and sign out here?
Not me.
Not me. I'm all set.
All right. Thank you all for coming, and have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll have a Code and Code on Sunday night.
I'm actually meeting with Eric after this meeting. So Eric's having dinner now, and then we're meeting. We're going to try and get things set up. I don't know if we're going to have it ready by Sunday, but we'll see.
All right. So stay tuned for Code and Coda. Hopefully.
Stay tuned.
Fingers crossed. So all right. Have a great weekend and enjoy. We'll catch you hopefully Monday night.
Right.
Or hopefully Sunday night.
Karen, see you, Rob. Thanks, Jim. Bye, Marie.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.